Welcome everybody to our Expedia Cruises virtual travel talks. And tonight we're featuring Royal Caribbean and Perfect Day at Coco Cay. My name is Lisa Anflick. I'm one of the consultants at Expedia Cruises. And tonight's talk is being hosted by the 6 Edmonton and vicinity stores. We are bringing you these travel talks to inspire you for future travel needs. For those of you who have not been on a Zoom before, you have all entered muted. You do have the ability to turn your video on and off. We'd love to see your faces. So please turn your videos on so we can see you. We are now in 2021, and hopefully by the end of 2021 and definitely into 2022, travel will begin again. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I am so missing travel. My passport is ignored. My suitcase is sitting in the corner ready to be packed. And I can't wait to get back out there and start traveling when it is safe to do so. Travel fulfills us. It provides us passion and memories, and that's why we do it. So our Expedia offices are open for you right now due to the restrictions with COVID. We do ask that you make an appointment so we can make sure that we can social distance. Our professional vacation consultants are here to help you plan your bucket list and also help you navigate through all the complexities of travel, because things are going to be a little bit different when we can get back to it. So we've put on these travel talks to inspire you, to motivate you, and to provide you with information on what's happening in the travel industry, some of the trends, some of the news. So I am going to turn this over now to Colin Price, who's our business development manager from Royal Caribbean. And he's going to tell us about Royal Caribbean and featuring Coco Cay, Perfect Day at Coco Cay. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Appreciate it. Out of curiosity, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen with my little profile picture on there? That's a thumbs up. All right. That's the first part that I've done, right? Good. All right. So I'm going to take you on a quick little intro. So as Lisa mentioned, my name is Colin Price. I'm with Royal Caribbean International. This is actually my 6th year now with Royal Caribbean, but for close to 10 years, I lived and worked on board numerous different cruise lines out there. And it's actually now my 24th year in the cruise industry. So it's this time has been flying by. What I will actually say, though, is my travel started at a much younger age. I was a very young cruiser to start, so there's obviously now a lot more activities to do on board than back in the day when I was a young cruiser, and actually, which leads me to kind of that next phase. There's now 40 years later in life. There's just a short little picture of taking my little guy actually on board ships as well. So you need to be of 6 months of age to actually cruise. So that was the first cruise I could book where he was 6 months and 1 day old. So that way we could get him on. So we did just an Alaska cruise that was close to home, which was really a lot of fun. So I can't wait to get back to this. Funny, Lisa, as you were saying about the passport a second ago, I thought, my gosh, where is my passport now? I hope I put that away back in my suitcase before as well. All right. So a quick little overview of what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about our safety and protocols, about some of our ships. I'm going to talk about our destinations that we go to, and then, of course, our little private island in the background as well. So this is going to be really a high-level overview, just touching on each of these key points, because each one of these, I could probably talk for about 2 hours, honestly, on each one of these spots as well. Our mission is really to inspire travel, but we really do focus on the multi-generational vacation experience. Obviously, safety is priority number 1 for us, but at the same time, we're still making sure to deliver great vacations, focusing in on you, redeveloping the destinations that we go to, and of course, what is new, and also at the same time, retouching on some of our older fleet. So to kind of talk, I just want to touch on the elephant in the room always, is the health and safety, obviously. We have a 5-part plan to return to service. Now, I don't know about you, but every time I turn on the TV, it seems everybody is an expert. So we figured, you know what, let's just hire all of them. So we hired all of the experts that we could. And if you look at the job titles behind these folks here, a lot of them are CEOs in microbiology, this, and I honestly can't even read the full signatures on there. Like, they are some very fancy titles. And we figured we're just going to hire the best, and that way they can kind of help us of how to grow moving forward as well. Now, we've always focused on health and safety, and there is 5 key areas to really focus on. But for 20 plus years, no matter if you cruise with us or one of the other many cruise lines out there, for 20 years, you've had to Purell your hands when you walk on the ship and Purell your hands when you go into a dining room. That's nothing new for us. It's kind of like the rest of the world has just caught up. But about 5, 6 years ago, again, we always listened to all of our guest feedback, and a lot of feedback was, I don't like the Purell. That's a fair point. So we actually started building ships with wash your hand stations before you walk into the buffet area. So for all of our ships that are 5 years and newer, they've already got these wash your hand stations. And there's a person standing there called the washy washy. They basically are like telling you, washy washy, dryy dryy. So again, knowing people have clean hands before they go into the buffet area. So there's a lot of these things that were all protocols that were already in place, and now we're just kind of taking it to that next limit. I don't remember the last time in the last 20 years when I'd walk into Earl's or Cactus Club and have somebody forcing me to wash my hands, right? So I feel the Purell is a fairly new thing. For you guys that have cruised before, you know about muster drill, and we're always working on improving this. For new cruisers that haven't actually used or haven't cruised before and don't know about the muster drill, this is a safety drill that you'd have to do on the cruise, generally about 4 o'clock, in case of an emergency on the first day of the cruise, so you would know where to go if something actually went wrong. Well, we've looked at how we can get rid of that. And originally, you used to have to go out there with like your life jacket, stand outside, and we'd call your name and check you off. And we've worked our way and said, you know what, we're going to bring you down. You go to a lounge. We've got the life jackets there, and away you go. We would scan your room key and in. Now we're looking at how do we go to that next step to improving it. So we were already working at creating this thing called Muster 2.0, and you can use your phone or your tablet. And if you don't have one of those pieces of technology, you can use the TV in your room, and you can do your muster drill from your stateroom off either one of those devices as well. So this will save a lot of time. And for you guys that have cruised before, you're probably just looking at me like, oh my gosh, yes, this is amazing. We have actually open sourced this to other cruise lines as well, so they are welcome to use this technology. So I am sure you will be seeing this more as an industry standard moving forward as well. Just so that you have that peace of mind when you are cruising as well, like many of the airlines things, there is many different policies regarding canceling within those windows and periods. So we really loosened the strings on that and said, you know what, you can cancel right up to 48 hours prior and you'd receive 100% future cruise credit for another date if that would work better for you. So if you're traveling or you're about to travel and you're like, oh my gosh, the snow is coming from a western direction, I don't want to cruise, sure thing, you can cancel your cruise right up to 48 hours prior. Really, we just want you to be able to book in confidence for this. Now, I'm going to touch really loosely, just very lightly, on our innovative ships, okay? We do have some numerous complimentary activities to do while on board, from ice rinks on board to rock climbing, zip lining on board, laser tag. These are things just to name a few of the complimentary activities on board. But again, remember, we are a multi-generational brand. And if a few of those activities I mentioned are not for you, you might want to join me over here. And this is actually in the Central Park in the middle area of our ship. And this is where we have 14,000 trees and plants, live trees and plants. And you can find a nice quiet spot to sit here. There's a lot of little lounge areas to sit, relax, read a book. Actually, one of my favorite times was I took a time out here. My wife found me up here later in the evening, and there's 4 cello players just sitting there playing Phantom of the Opera. And I was just sitting there and had this area to myself. It was all lit up at night, and I thought, it's just so perfect. It was just, so that is one of my favorite spots around the ship. And again, if you want your quiet spot, you can find this on here. When it comes to entertainment, based on the size of our ship, this allows us to have multiple spaces around the ship for entertainment. So we're the only cruise line that has shows on ice, in the air, in the water, and of course the traditional main theater show lounge, where we actually do have our Broadway winning shows as well as some of our Tony Award winning shows as well. Now, we do have all different ships and sizes. So we actually have 6 different classes of ships. The Voyager class was really the first of the mega liners out there. And if you've ever been on the BC ferries over to the island, that Voyager class, just to give you a perspective of how large this is, you could fit 22 BC ferries on that one particular ship, which is kind of unreal of how large that is. I saw you saying that out loud, 22 ships. So what comes with a large ship, though, is also your space per ratio. So all of a sudden, opposed to one traditional showroom at the front and one dining room at the back, it's not like you have everybody going across. You have people going across in different levels in different areas. In fact, we created this neighborhood concept on a few of our ships, so that way what you might be in the mood for is different than what I'm in the mood for. And I'm definitely what my child is in the mood for, because with the little ones, they basically got their whole zone, which makes it great. It's a win-win for absolutely everybody. Now, some of our older ships out there, we went back and we want to re-amplify these, bring these ships back, give them a little sparkle. So we put a little bit of money into these ships, roughly between about $140 to $250 million into each of these 6 specific ships. And I have to admit, the Oasis of the Seas, which is one of our first of the Oasis class, so she's actually a 10-year-old ship now. We have newer ships of that class, but I have to say that the Oasis is still one of my personal favorite ships. But my next vacation I'm ready to be booked on is the Mariner of the Seas, which is one of the Voyager class ships. The reason I like that is it actually has a triple overnight in Bermuda. I really love Bermuda with the pink sand beaches. It cruises down to Perfect Day, which we'll be talking about as well. But the Mariner of the Seas is the one I have my eyes on next, once I find out where I did put my passport as well. All right. And moving forward with our future, obviously there's a lot happening right now. We've put the brakes on a few of our side projects, but we still have the green light happening with a lot. We're still moving forward. We have one new quantum class ship coming out. Just making a note that each of these ships is $1 billion that is coming out. These are $1 billion investments. And again, when we are building the largest cruise ship in the world, if it was not successful, and if people didn't like it and they felt overcrowded and if they felt there was lines, we would have stopped building them. There's a reason why we keep building these ships. We actually got the, out of curiosity, if you throw in the chat, if you can work the chat on the computer, how long do you think it takes to get on board the largest cruise ship in the world? You got 5,400 people. So to get you from your taxi that first day of the cruise, through security, getting checked in, get your room key, getting on board, and finding your way to your room. How long do you think that takes? Put those in the chat for me there, okay? And then I'll come back to that in a short bit. Lisa, you're gonna have to remind me in a few. Oh, I see. I think I can see the actual answers coming in here. Chats. Let's see what I can see here. Oh, there's a lot of smarty pants in here. I can see. There's a lot of people that have got right answers. So I'm getting a lot of 15 and 20 minutes and 30 minutes. You are absolutely correct. So the average time is about 20 minutes on there as well. I remember when I asked one group, someone was like, 5,400 people, start lining up now for your cruise in September. But we really do have that down to a fine art to get you on board. So this is why we continue to build these specific ships, because they really are that space to ratio. And we've really got the time of getting you on and off the ships down to an art. Okay. Now, when we look at our staterooms, now that we have the largest staterooms, we also are the largest ships. That allows us to offer some of the largest suites at sea as well. So if you're looking to up the style of your cruise, or maybe you already enjoy cruising in a suite, this might be something that might check the box for you as well. Now, there's all different kinds of suites out there. In fact, let's just backtrack a little bit. We actually offer 4 main categories of staterooms, from your interiors to your ocean view staterooms, to your balconies, to your suites. We have all different configurations, from single occupancy staterooms that connect to a balcony, that connect to a junior suite. That top center photo you can see is an interior room with a virtual balcony. So that's an 85-inch LED TV hooked up to live cameras around the ship. So if you were to see, if we were cruising past New York, you would see New York going past there. Also, just so you know, it does also have a volume control. So I woke up at about 3 in the morning. I thought there was a bird in my room chirping, and I realized I forgot to turn the volume off on this thing. So do make sure to hit mute on your wall TV before you go to sleep. Learn that lesson the hard way. Now, talking about a few of our staterooms, we have from our junior suites, owner staterooms. our Royal Loft Suite. That's that 2-level loft. We've got our Sky Loft. And then our chairman actually was on board the ship with his grandchildren, and he was showing them around the Royal Loft Suite. And he basically said, "Granddad, it'd be really cool if there was a slide here." So what happened next? Chairman went back to the design team and said, "How do you make a kid-friendly room?" So they designed the ultimate family stateroom with a slide in there. Very cool. 3 bathrooms. All these staterooms are really to the next level. And again, all of our staterooms we have for accessible travel as well. So if you are traveling with accessible needs, for example, the Royal Loft Suite, we do have suites that actually have an elevator inside the stateroom that will take you from one floor to the other floor as well. So now let's talk about remarkable destinations. We cruise to over 270 destinations around the world. So from Alaska, Canada, New England, you know what? I'm going to talk about all 270 destinations. Does that sound good? I'm just kidding. I saw quite a few head no's on that level there. All right. And now also we start and embark our cruise from just as many amazing destinations around the world. Now I've highlighted a few itineraries. I just want, I'm going to jump over to Europe. I'm going to go a whole different way just for 30 seconds. And I'm going to come back to what the main thing is that we were to be talking about today. But I just saw this one unique itinerary earlier in the day, and I thought, how cool of an itinerary is this? This is on one of our more elegant cruise ships. This is the Jewel of the Seas. That's more in line with like a Holland American, a Princess style ship. They're stunning ships with the mahogany and the brass rails. They're beautiful. But just look at this itinerary. You start off and you do your transatlantic and you kind of make your way over to the Mediterranean. And I'm going to flip to the next day. So starting on July 26th, starting in Amsterdam, you could do a 12-night cruise, head up into the Norwegian fjords. When that cruise ends, you stay on board, head over to Iceland with a couple double overnights that direction, heading into Liverpool and Ireland, come back, and then we do a 12-night British Isles cruise. So your 12-night cruise is now a 36-day cruise. But if you've got nowhere to be and all day to get there, you might as well stay on with us and keep on cruising down along, and you can head down through Norway, down along Spain, Portugal, and then head down towards the Greek Isles. So you can turn this 12-night cruise into a 64-day cruise real quick. So pretty stunning itinerary, right? So this is the Jewel of the Seas for 2022. I just happened to see this and I phoned my family. I'm like, hey, I don't know where you're going in the summer. I'm probably kicking myself in the foot for my future babysitting, but this is where you might want to be going for a few months next summer. All right. One other thing I wanted to touch on, being a Canadian as well myself, Barbados is one of our new home ports, and I'm going to tell you why I think this is really exciting. One is there are direct flights from Toronto down to Barbados, so meaning we can go from Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, etc., to Toronto and straight down to Barbados, not touching the United States at all. Now, if you've got the time, truthfully, with this vacation, you will need a vacation at the end of this. So I would recommend going down a couple days ahead of time, having a few days in Barbados, because on the 7-night cruise has 7 ports. And if the 1 week it goes and it skips over and does another itinerary the following week as well. The 14-night cruise, I believe it's 12 ports and 14 nights as well. So you are really using this ship as a floating hotel to get you from A to B, and you're seeing port every single day. So like I said, you'll probably need a couple-week vacation at the end of this itinerary because it's so port immersive. Okay, now to jump back in here, I know we were talking about the remarkable destinations. I just wanted to highlight the one piece in Europe. That Barbados is our newest itinerary that starts as of the end of December of 2021 is when we will start doing that. And what I wanted to touch on was Labadee in Haiti. This was our first private island. Now, as I mentioned, I worked for many other cruise lines prior to this, and one of the biggest things that I was always jealous that Labadee had was the fact that they have a real dock. There's a lot of other cruise lines and a lot of islands out there that don't have a real dock, and without having a dock means it's a tender port. If it's a windy or rough day, again, all cruise lines' priority number one is your safety. They will not try and embark if it's not safe. So quite often when I was on one of these other lines, we would skip it and go to another destination. Now, that also used to happen to Royal Caribbean over at Coco Cay as well. So putting this dock in at Labadee was huge for us as well. Now with Labadee, there's actually 7 distinct neighborhoods on the island. And this was kind of the first island offered the thrill and different chills on board, from roller coasters in the mountains to zip lining 500 feet above the beach. This is actually a flight time of, it's basically 2,600 feet up the speed to 50 miles an hour, so you're moving on this zip line. Now, if you're looking at this and thinking, no way, why do I want to go on a zip line at 50 miles an hour? Well, I might find you over here then in this little cabana with your margarita instead. So this is the kind of the chill side of the island where you can go and flop and relax and hang out. So again, 7 different neighborhoods. Depending what you're in the mood for, you will find that around on these islands. Now, we took this concept and we applied it to our Perfect Day collection. I'm going to talk about Perfect Day at Coco Cay, but we at Royal Caribbean have actually got even more islands in the works as we speak. So one that I'm just going to touch lightly on now, you're not going to find too much of this on our itineraries because it's still being built, but this is Lalepa. Now, Lalepa is actually off the coast of Fiji, part of Vanuatu. Now, Vanuatu is not that large on a map. It is not bigger than Tasmania. We've just blown it up on the map so you knew where to look on there as well. I remember someone quote me, they're like, there's no way Vanuatu is bigger than Tasmania. I'm like, I agree. And of course, so Perfect Day at Labadee will be, it's a stunning new destination that we are working with, again, the locals. There's actually more than 500 local people that we're consulting with, specifically with these communities, to making sure that we are delivering this eco-friendly ecosystem to basically complement the heritage of these destinations. It'll be a very tranquil location that we're visiting. So something to keep in mind if you're ever looking at those Australia, New Zealand itineraries or heading up into the Fiji, New Caledonia. Now, heading over here into Perfect Day at Coco Cay. This really is a destination that checks the boxes for everybody. Now, I've mentioned a lot of chill and thrill and finding what you're in the mood for. If you can use that chat feature again, can you throw in the chat feature for me? What do you prefer? Do you prefer relaxing, so chill, or do you want some action? You're looking for thrills. Throw in there in the comments which side of the island we're going to find for you out of curiosity. Well, I've seen a few answers coming in here. Well, thrills, both chill, relaxing and chilled. Action. All right, we got a lot of everything. Well, I've got the answer for the everything. I got the answers for both. So this is kind of a little bit of an overview of what the island looks like. The pink section is kind of your thrill side of the island. The blue section is kind of your chilling section of the area. And the green over on the trees on the far right is kind of where the crew live. There's actually a hotel hidden over there of where all the crew live on the island. There's actually over 100 lifeguards that live on the island. Not a bad gig they've got, eh? All right. Actually, I'd really love to be there right about now. Okay, so since then, we've added a whole lot of new features to it. So I'm going to kind of take you on a bit of a deeper dive of Coco Cay. We actually have the Oasis Lagoon starting off. This is the largest freshwater pool in the Caribbean. Now, we are a la carte cruise line, meaning if not everybody, or not all of our guests, again, I should rephrase this, as a family-friendly cruise line, we're not offering drink packages out there left, right, and center. If you want a drink package, you can purchase a drink package. And again, I look for my own family. My mom, who's, oh gosh, she's gonna hit me for not remembering, she's 74 now, and dad's 80. There's no way that they're going to drink that amount, so why are they paying for it? Where I try and make up the difference, obviously, but my wife doesn't drink either. So again, if you want a drink package, you can buy it, but if you have a drink package from the ship, it will work on the island. If you have an internet package from the ship, the internet will work on the island as well. So on that note, you've got the largest freshwater pool in the Caribbean here. And then I'm going to show you Coco Beach Club as well. So Coco Beach Club is an exclusive area on the other side of the area. I thought that was a still picture I had in there. Oopsie. You might be getting a small video playing in the corner on yourself there, but I'm just going to stop here for a second. So Coco Beach Club is an exclusive area. This section is a paid area if you're looking for that extra tranquil section. So this little section is where it's located here. And if you are going to Coco Beach Club, this is where you can actually access the overwater bungalows. There's basically from your floating cabanas, which is kind of taking that to the next level of your perfect day. It's got everything from Bluetooth speakers to your mini fridge and just, well, slide off the back, all those activities. You've got a nice little spot to kind of grab shade along the side of the beach. So you're going to find cabanas everywhere, essentially, on this island. And then you'll have access into the clubhouse. Again, this one's going to be serving in the restaurant a little bit higher end food from your steaks and lobsters, fresh grouper, all of that. So this is for all of the people that are going to be in the Coco Beach Club section. Now, if you're like, you know what, I don't need all of that. I'm not interested in that. I don't care for that. I just want to flop on a beach. Trust me, we got spaces for you to flop on the beach. So I'm going to show you a bunch of those. This is another section where it's just cabanas all the way down this whole entire stretch as well. And just kind of showing, kind of zooming out all of those little different cabanas. And actually, if you look, I think I can kind of make this a little laser pointer here. If you can kind of see, is my mouse going around here? That, oh, just over here, that whole section over here, there's like a whole section of cabanas in the middle that are next to the thrill park. So I'll talk about them in a second here. Oh, this is one of my other favorite locations. This is a swim out floating bar. If when the water's down a little bit, you can just walk out to it. But once you grab your cocktail, it looks a little deep right now, but truthfully, as you continue to the left of the screen, you could probably walk for about 45 minutes out in the water and barely be up to your kneecap, somewhere between your ankle and your kneecap. It's just beautiful, tranquil water, super relaxing. You just walk for miles and then, well, don't walk too far because you got to walk all the way back, remember. So, all right. Now let's kind of jump over into the thrill side of the island. So this is the thrill park that has tons of different activities. Starting off with that slide there, that's a 135-foot water slide. That is the tallest water slide in all of North America. But personally, I'm not a water slide guy. I always thought, this seems a little odd. I'd rather be on that beautiful beach over there. Until I went down the slide and went down about 10 more times that day. It was an absolute blast, I have to say. So this is kind of what the water park section looks like. And again, now I think of my own family with this. My mom, again, in her 70s, my dad in his 80s. I can look at them and, okay, maybe my dad might do this, but my mom, absolutely not. But I can pick out now where she'd be traveling with her grandson. I'm going to show that to you in a second here. Now, this actually features a total of 13 different slides. Two of the slides are with rafts that you can actually sit on with as a group of 4, which is actually really a good hoot. I actually did it with a couple of my coworkers, and it was really quite funny. And then we've obviously got like the other side, which has actually got even more slides and a little wave pool. This is kind of what it looks like as you kind of go up to the slide. There's one that's actually in the center that just drops straight down, where you basically get in a capsule and then they count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the floor drops out on front of you. Now, I didn't think I was personally a very hairy guy until my arm here, my GoPro, I could see was just spinning up like this. I was like, my gosh, I was sure moving fast at that point. Also, for the record, funny story I have to share. The girl that went in it before me, she had her iPhone out to video, and I just watched this, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well. And it totally did not. When that floor dropped, her arms went in the air, phone went up, and it looked like it was a phone going down the toilet at the end there. So when I went with my GoPro, I was holding on real tight for that one because I didn't want to do a repeat. So, all right. So just over here on the left-hand side, there's a big wave pool. This is actually really neat. It's about every 5-10 minutes, the splashes kind of happen. I thought it was a great place actually just to go and kind of cool down, get a bit of a few waves, sit and relax, and then continue on my walk as well. Again, this is somewhere where I could see my little guy absolutely loving a great time over here. This is just a quick picture of that tube that I mentioned about that double-decker slide, the double raft slide. You can go 4 of you at the same time. It doesn't look that terrifying until you're the one with the back going down the straight drop. Trust me, you will scream at this point. And then you want to go again because you're hoping you're not the one going down backwards and you want your other half to be that one. Zip lining around, so there's a really cool zip line. There's basically 3 different courses. It's 1,600-foot zip line that goes around the park. I did try it. It is actually a pretty good laugh through out there. if you have ziplined anywhere else in the world, like Costa Rica or so, this is obviously the amateur hour version of that. But if you've never done it, you want just to try it, just something for an hour or so, this is a great place to actually go and give it a whirl. Now, kids activities, this is where grandma is going to be now with my little guy now. So this is the whole Splash Away Bay Area. There's a big, beautiful pirate ship that you can splash in there. The flooring, I should have actually mentioned this, on the pool is like the same flooring as what you're seeing in this pirate ship. And I don't know how to really explain it correctly, but it's like, it's kind of almost like a gym floor, which is kind of spongy feeling. So when you walk into the pool, you're not into like a hard concrete kind of flooring. It's kind of that soft on your feet there. So same kind of idea. It's more of that even around in the kids area, because obviously they're running, they're slippery, they're gonna fall. The last thing we want them is on the concrete or the cement like that. So it's got that sponginess everywhere around as well. So all the kids pools, that's all listed in this area as well. This little trapeze area, I remember when they were putting this in, they weren't too sure how this was going to go for the kids, and the feedback from families regarding this has been an absolute hit as well. Now, there's multiple restaurants on board. Now, you're just a few steps from going back to the ship if you wanted, but there is all these different bars and restaurants and places to grab bites to eat if you wish to around the ship. Captain Jack's is actually a pretty cool spot where they've got live music playing in the background. They've kind of got games like Jenga and stuff on there. This one's more of a casual kind of outdoor pub feel with like chicken wings and fries and all that kind of jazz. All right, where am I here? Oh, my slide just froze on me. Now, a few of you said that you are into both thrill and chill. So we figured out how to answer that for you. We just go there twice in a single voyage. So some of our ships will actually go back to Perfect Day twice in the single cruise. Now, the reason behind this actually was a lot of, at first when we started going and opening Perfect Day at Coco Cay, a lot of people are saying, why don't you stay there longer? Or why are you not doing, are you going to do overnights in Coco Cay? Are you going to build a hotel there? Well, our first answer was, why would we build a hotel there when we've got a perfectly fine cruise ship that you have basically a hotel right there? There's no point of recreating the wheel. But what they found, they did do numerous test cruises of ships overnighting, and they found it was something like 94% of the guests did not get off the ship after 6 o'clock at night. Picture yourself as well. You've been out there in the hot blazing sun since probably 8 o'clock in the morning, might have had a couple cocktails in the sun, doing these activities. By the time you get back to the ship at 5 or 6, you're probably going to have a nap, shower, get ready for dinner. Now you're off to see one of the Broadway shows. And before you know it, it's bedtime. So again, not many people were actually getting off the ship. We also found for our crew that were working on the island all day long to do that extra time, not really giving them a bit of a break as well. We found it was better for us to sail away, take you to another place to wake up the next morning, to another destination, and bring another ship in that day. I think I saw a chat saying how many ships are there at a time. The maximum amount will be 2 ships in Perfect Day at a time. Most times it's 1, but sometimes we will be upwards of 2 ships there. So these are, I've kind of put a couple of hearts next to the ship that are, it's the Mariner and Navigator that are offering currently 2 stops back to Perfect Day. I actually flew through that. I did this presentation earlier in my head, and this took me an hour to talk. So somehow I actually managed to whip through 70 slides in 30 minutes here as well. So that really threw me off. I'm going to take this back to Lisa to unmute the lines then and go back to a couple of questions and answers. One thing I'm going to point out as well, I'm going to go back to a point about the Coco Beach Club, that specific area that recently opened in January. We did a huge launch for this opening in January. I think we have to now do a relaunch since it was basically open for 2 months now and now forgotten about for the last essentially year because of what's happened in the world. So I'm sure there's going to be some new features added to the Coco Beach Club and to really kind of wow that feature as well. So Lisa, I'm sorry to throw you off on here. I whipped through this really quickly. Was there any questions or anything I could answer at this time?
Yeah, there are a couple questions, but before you get into that, Colin, I just want to let everybody know my son and my daughter-in-law went on a Caribbean cruise. I think they were on the I can't even remember which ship it is, sorry, but they went to Perfect Day at Coco Cay, and for his birthday I bought him a pass to the water park. And he called me and he said, Mom, that was absolutely the best day of my entire life. He absolutely loved it. So everything you're saying about that island is so very, very true. And they had a family of about 12. Some of them just went and sat on the beach. Some went to the water park. Some went and ate. Some went and zip line. And it was just a fabulous, fabulous day for families. So definitely something that I think everybody should do. And I'm sitting here thinking, I need to get back on a ship. I need to smell the ocean. I need to hear the ocean. All right, so we do have a couple questions. There is a question about when will we know more about the Icon class ships?
Oh gosh, I feel like it's like Max that's probably asking that kind of question here. Let me answer that. Was it Max? I knew it. All right, so yes. I will tell you everything I know about the Icon class. And this is why Royal Caribbean only tells me so much, because they know I have a massive mouth and I would tell you everything I know. I can tell you that it will be smaller than the Oasis class, but larger than a Quantum class. And that is everything I know. So
Max, you're just going to have to wait a little while.
One other thing I actually can share with you, and I think this is actually true to all cruise lines out there, as it is the newest ship out there, it will also be the most fuel efficient ship that we have out there come that time. Now, if I use our Oasis class for a breakdown, we have 4 ships in the Oasis class: Oasis, Allure, Harmony, and Symphony. And there's a 10-year difference. The ships are almost identical. The Symphony is legit 1 inch longer than the Oasis. However, the Symphony is 25% more fuel efficient than the Oasis. And again, it's just the new technologies that they keep embracing, adding to it. I was reading one of the reports, and I'm going to, if anybody is any kind of mechanical engineer, you're going to look at me and roll your eyes for how I'm explaining something, but I'm going to give you the version that I understand. Basically, the front of the ship, they got these little hole things there that basically push air bubbles out the side, so there's less friction as it goes through the water. And again, then there's all these other things that they basically do with it, but with the coats, the different styles of paint, etc. But that is made within 10 years, this almost the exact same ship, 25% more fuel efficient. So that's a useless fact of the day.
Thank you for that fact. You answered the question about how many ships dock each day. Another question was, what items on the island are at an extra charge?
That's a fabulous question. Thank you for asking that. So I touched about the Coco Beach Club. Now I'm actually going to elaborate a little further on the Coco Beach Club. I'm going to give some I'm going to throw some numbers. I haven't looked at these in a while, so you don't fully quote me on the number, but giving you a rough estimate. To go to the Coco Beach Club section, if you want just that there, it's $100 per person to access that section of the area. Now, I'm going to go backwards for a few seconds. I'm going to throw a crazy number out here. If, for example, Lisa, let's say you and I are traveling and we want to get one of the cabanas maybe over at Coco Beach Club. It would cost, between the two of us, $800 total for that particular cabana. However, it will include the entrance fee for you and I and 6 of our friends. So meaning if we were a group of 8, essentially there's no cover charge. Do you follow me on that? You're basically getting that included in that section. So if you are a group and you want to take this to that next level, getting a cabana makes sense, because essentially it's covering the cost of going into that Coco Beach Club. This also applies over, you mentioned about the water park, that same idea. Now this is where it's kind of a great idea. I know that my mom would not be going down those slides, but she would like to find a spot that she can flop under the sun, have her drink. So for her to have her little cabana, us to have a place that we can just kind of drop our stuff as a home base would work out well. And I've learned traveling, especially now, how easy it is to travel in a bigger group. In Jackson's first year, that's my little guy, he didn't get to travel that much. He only did one trip to New Zealand, the Alaska cruise, a trip to Mexico, a trip to Toronto, a trip to Seattle, and this year he went to Hope. So that was, there was a point to my story, and I have no clue what it was. Oh, when we went down to Mexico, though, again, this started off that I phoned a couple of my friends, said, hey, you want to go? We're going down to Mexico there. And a friend of mine who's like a little sister to me, I said, I'm going to see if my parents want to come. Do you want to see if your mom wants to come? So next minute, she invited her mom to come on this trip to Mexico. And she's like, I'm going to see if my boyfriend wants to bring his parents. So he brought his parents along. Before you know it, we were a whole mixed group on there. And it was an absolute blast. But I said after that Mexico trip, I said, that's it. Next multi-gen group that we're doing, we're going on a cruise. Because it was a funny thing, and I'm sure we've all had this part in life. It was going out for dinner, and then the bill would come, and it was always fighting over who got to pay for the bill. I thought, I'm going to eliminate that with a cruise. No bill for anybody. It's just already done and taken care of. But it was funny. While we were on that trip, everybody's like, where are we going next? So I'm actually working on my next little group to be the Mariner of the Seas out of Bermuda. But this is where, especially traveling as a group, it really is fabulous. If, for example, I was talking to an office earlier, and they were saying how they're seeing a lot of big increases of river cruises and longer voyages as well. And this is where I kind of showcased my longer voyage on that as well. Now, realistically, that cruise that I showed you is not really set for my little guy. That would be very tiring having a 6-month-old on that, right? So again, there's going to be a lot less families on a cruise like that. But maybe with a cruise like that, or a river cruise that you were looking at doing, obviously you're not going to be taking kids on a river cruise either, or grandchildren on a river cruise. But where you would position this is maybe looking at one of our 7-day Mediterranean cruises, taking the family beforehand, and then doing your river cruise or your longer cruise or your whichever experience you want to do, your Trafalgar tour or so on afterwards as well. I normally, if you're doing a land trip in conjunction, I would say do the land trip first and then the cruise, because it's your packing and unpacking, and then when you get to the ship, it's nice you unpack the one time. If you're doing this with the family, you might want to do this first, so you get that out with the family, and then you can have your next relaxing river cruise at the end of that as well. So those are a couple of tips that I picked up from a few offices recently as well. But I did want to just showcase those longer cruises, because sharing some of what I see in my booking trends coming through these days from Western Canada is a lot more longer back-to-back cruises as well. I'm seeing a lot for Europe right now, and that's why I wanted to showcase to you the Jewel of the Seas doing those triple back-to-backs offhand. Lisa, I have no clue what the question was. I went on a whole tangent there. What was the ask? Did I?
No, thank you. But you brought up a couple points. I mean, there's a whole term, and you might have been aware of it. It's called revenge travel. I've got to make up for what I've missed. And for many of us, definitely multi-generational, I can't wait to take my kids and my grandkids, on a cruise together. So I think your line is absolutely fabulous for that. A couple more questions that came in. For those with status on another cruise line, are there incentives in place to entice us to come over with comparable perks?
This is a 2-part answer. I'm going to give you a yes and a no. Royal Caribbean Group does own multiple cruise lines. And if it is one of those cruise lines, such as Celebrity, Azamara Club Cruises, and soon there will be a tie over. This hasn't happened yet, but Silver Sea is part of our family, so it's haploid. There's going to be a change within the structure on that. But currently, really, the 3 main is us, Celebrity, and Azamara Club Cruises is the 3 main ones. So hopefully that answers the question. So if you're one of those 3, yes.
So whatever status you are on the sister brands, you will retain that status on Royal Caribbean. Thank you.
And it's vice versa as well. So if you start building this up, and don't fully quote me on this one, but right now what does work in conjunction with Celebrity as well as Azamara, but Silver Sea is part of our family. So I am curious to see how that will work down the pipeline as well, because it would be nice to have that status there. Just saying.
There was another question about how many people can stay in the largest suites. And I'm not sure if that was the family suite or the loft suite, but if you can give us a little bit of a breakdown on that.
Yeah. Well, so you can see I'm sitting in one of the suites now, but technically this is not the largest suite that sleeps the most amount of people. The one that sleeps the most amount of people is actually called the Ultimate Family 4-bedroom Villa, but it's 1 level high. It's not 2 levels high. This is actually a very cool suite. It is 4 bedrooms, and you can sleep up to 14 people in this. Now, 14 might sound a lot until you start breaking it down. Maybe let's say my family was a lot bigger. Let's say that I had 4 kids offhand, and my friends had 4 kids offhand. This now gives us both the main couples, each a master bedroom, and then 2 quad rooms. So those 4 kids in each room, and they've got bunk beds and all that, gives you 4 separate bathrooms and 1 giant living room in the middle as well. So now I'm just thinking more again, when I'm on a ship right now and my little guy needs to go down at 7 o'clock at night, what am I to do? This now allows us as a family, we can still hang out in this little living room in there and hang out. But now if we go a different way, and if I was to take this with maybe let's say 8 of my friends opposed to 14, and I'm gonna break down the value of this. Now I'm gonna throw some numbers out there. My math is not my strongest point, so don't fully quote me on the numbers offhand. But I gotta do a quick calculator off here. I think it's, if you're looking at one of our balcony staterooms, you're probably realistically looking at around say around $5,000 offhand for your 7-day cruise. And I'm throwing up some numbers. Now, again, this is Royal Caribbean speaking. If you're booking with Expedia Cruise Ship Centers, I'm sure you're going to get a much better rate, because I have to admit, these teams do a great job at locking down prices almost a year in advance. So there's a lot of cruises that I'm talking about. Actually, backtracking, that triple back-to-back stateroom, I looked on that, and if you did the triple back-to-back with Expedia Cruise Ship Centers, you could save close to $5,000 total off of that package versus booking with me directly. Just saying. So now, what was I talking about before that? 4-bedroom villa. If you're to book a regular balcony stateroom, you're probably around $5,000 offhand. So imagine I'm with 4 other couples. So we're booking 4 balcony staterooms. We're up to $20,000 right there. Okay. If you're looking at the ultimate family, the 4-bedroom villa suite, for example, guest one is probably going to be, say, $10,000. We've got usually a buy one, get one second, or get the second person half price. So they're probably going to be $5,000. And every person after that's usually about $1,000. Realistically, you're probably going to be all in $7,000-10,000 more expensive for the villa than the 4 separate balconies. The big however, and I know that sounds like a big number until I throw out the however. These suites, we have 3 different tiers. So we've got our Sea, Sky, and Star. These rooms that I'm in right now, these are the Star class. That basically means they are the cat's meow. They include everything. Your gratuities for everybody are included. Your beverage package for everybody is included. Your internet package, your priority boarding, your ultimate dining package, and your Royal Genie. That's your butler service on board. Your Royal Genie, he or she will do absolutely anything for you on board you want or off board, as long as it's, quote, legal or ethical. So as long as it's one of those 2, your Royal Genie will do it. But when you start to add up all of those things and you times that by 8 people, now all of a sudden, that 4-bedroom villa is actually almost the same pricing, really, as the 4 separate balconies. So again, weighing those out. So a room like this right behind me, generally 6 people, but the largest stateroom, to answer the question, is 14. So.
Thank you so much, Colin. I think you're making everybody just going, I want to go away now. I don't think there's any more questions. So I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Although travel is paused, it will start again. And it really is time for you to start thinking about where you want to go later in 2021, 2022. And the cruise lines have actually opened up 2023. As Colin mentioned earlier, there are very flexible booking policies. deposits that are refundable, usually up to your final payment date, as well as your cruise with confidence being able to cancel closer in. We are starting to see a shortage of space on some of the cruise lines and some of the itineraries, just because everybody is making up for what they've lost over the last couple of years. So again, thank you for joining us. Please reach out to your consultants if you have any questions. We want to help you start planning in the future. Also want to remind you to please follow us on Facebook and check out our YouTube channel, EC Travel Talks, where this video presentation will be recorded. Every Thursday, we are doing travel talks all the way until the end of April. And next Thursday will be G Adventures featuring Australia and New Zealand. So please join us. And I thank you very much for your past travels, for your future travels. And we look forward to helping you plan your next vacation. Thank you so much.